Today is 22nd of January, market gap up and was stuck in the trading range throughout the day, eventually closed with a doji up 18 point at 4828 on increased volume. Now over here we have a retracement that closed up the daylights, and with this gap up today, we're more likely to actually trade sideways, forming perhaps a small base. Now the recent trend has been very strong. It's quite evident from the rising and diverging 1326 SMA. Unlike over here, where you will notice the weaving in and out of the SMA, and this indicates actually deep retracement. So over here, if you notice the run itself, they have shallow pullback. This is actually very strong, and it's actually driven by mainly property stocks. This is a 15-minute chart. If you notice a gap up and largely trade sideways throughout the day. Our immediate support is actually this gap. This gap provides a level of support, and this is at about 4814. Pivot low itself is another level of support, which is at 4790. Our immediate resistance is actually at this high here of 4849. Now, I prefer the stock can trade sideways on low volume from a small base and eventually look for a break above the high. Now, this is Nasdaq Composite Index. Now it's actually mapping out a triangle consolidation patterns, and with a gap down and followed by a reactive move, an attempt to close this gap. Now this is in reactions to the news of tariff imposed on some EU members, but there's a turnaround now. There's a U-turn announced by the US administration. So we may see move upward to close up this gap. Important thing is to take note that this is by and large a consolidation. So all this move doesn't mean anything. There's no trend characteristics. Now it's important to actually take note, if you plot the major moving averages rather, it's actually testing the 100 days. Right? And there were a few occasions that was actually well respected. So it's important that this level hold. Now breaking this low will be very damaging. This is 22916. If you break this, we may see it test to 200 days. So this is something we need to actually look out for. Let's take a look at some of the stock we'll be discussing. This is Wehe. Very nice consolidation breakout. Notice actually we have very tight sideways move. There is this tightness in price before it break out. So this is a launching pad. Notice a very low volume. And obviously here we have a huge bar. We know that the momentum is actually losing. We'll take a look at the closing price getting shallower and followed by a pullback closing up the daylight and a reactive move. Now, today itself, we see the bars making new high, but was not able to close well. This is a sign of weakness, likely to pull back. And during a pullback, we can look for setup, look for eventual break above this high here of 94 cents. Tiangwon, another small cap stock that exhibit very strong move. Here we have a consolidation that lasts for several months and finally actually broke the upside. Notice a series of bull bars. This is the first bear bars, and like this, we may see retracement, but I prefer the stock can just trade sideways, close on our daylight. Notice the daylight is extremely huge. It probably will take some time to rest and eventually look for a break on the upside. Now today by itself, notice a low volume. This is a good sign. CSC Global. Over here, we have a consolidation breakout and followed by a pullback and followed by another breakout, and right now experiencing another pullback. I'd like to look for eventually break this high here. This is at 109. Notice on several occasions it was not able to close well. So again, it's important for you to build a course, perhaps training sideways on low volume and look for eventual break. China's aviation oil. Here we have very nice move followed by pullback on low volume. Technically, this is a big dipper setup. Two-bar comeback high is this 180, and there was a break today. It closed with a doji. Look for pullback. Trade to the same high. All right. Like to see eventually break this high of 183. OKP. Stock move up today. It trade come bonus. Okay, look for pullback, look for setups. We have the bonus X day is actually 30th of January, so it's something to think note of. Hong Leong Asia, nice run up to the resistance, followed by a pullback. It's important. This is quite a significant resistance. Look for eventual break above this high here, 278. Nam Cheong. So today trade inside day. Look for a setup. Look for eventual break above this high here, 112. Now this is a very important level to watch because on several occasions we are not able to throw well. So it's important that you must clear this bar here decisively. CMNC Gold Mine. Now this time is a very nice run up and it start to consolidate. And here we have a run followed by a pullback. And this is a small depot setup and it actually broke out yesterday. But today we have a quite a deep retracement. Notice actually this opening gap here is quite huge. Okay, and I mentioned in the last videos that this we got to be wary of the overhead resistance. So if you take a look at the gold charts, actually is making new high, but this stocks is actually underperforming. So this is a charts of gold futures, actually making new high followed by an inside bar. So technically this is actually good and you may continue to move upwards. But of course, a lot of things depend on the geopolitical situations. So this stock may just hug below this level here. This is a high volume resistance level at about 135 or so. But usually with this big move, they probably take some time before you break on the upside. We have side build also mapping out very nice consolidation patterns. We just need some patience. Eventually look for decisive break above this high here of 93 cents. Samudara. Unfortunately, this stock actually has a nice run, but notice the gap resistance was actually breached. So the fact that it's actually managed to break the 26 SMA and the 13 pointing downwards is more likely it's going to be consolidating at best. So we'll leave the stock alone. The better bet right now is actually, apart from some of the stock we discussed earlier, is actually Food Empire. So this stock actually map out a very nice symmetrical triangle and it actually break out quite decisively. Notice the increase in volume. So look for pullback, look for new setups to go long. Now we mentioned some of the stock that are actually trying to actually turn corner, but this is probably less preferred. I'll just discuss some of them. This is LHN. All right, it's coming from the bottom, so all these present overhead resistance. Likewise for Centurion. So we can actually leave the stock alone. So even though it had moved, but it's not likely to be that the odds not as good as some of those stocks that are actually with no overhead resistance. So if you take stock like this, it's likely to be here and run, and just take note of the high volume areas, right? So that potential is a resistance.